In the world of the New Jersey crew, feelings are rarely spoken in a clear and honest way. Respect, fear, envy, and loyalty are all mixed together at the same table, in the back room of the club and at family parties. Two people who show this very well are Bobby Bacala and Paulie Walnuts. On the surface, they work together under the same boss, collect the same kind of money, and sit in the same meetings. Under that surface, there is a strange mix of dislike, quiet respect, and hurt pride that grows slowly through the seasons. To understand if they really like each other or not, you have to look at who they are as people and at the few key moments when their paths truly cross. Bobby comes into the story as a gentle giant. He is overweight, soft-spoken, and often the butt of small jokes. When he walks into a room full of killers, he looks like he should be running a hobby shop instead of collecting cash. He is loyal and honest within the rules of that life. He does not curse much. He does not cheat on his wife in the early seasons, and he does not kill anyone until very late. For a long time, he even stands out because he has never done a murder, which is seen as a strange weakness among men who built their lives on violence. Underneath that shy and clumsy surface, there is a deep loyalty to his family and to his boss. He is not trying to be a star. He is trying to be useful and to live long enough to see his children grow. Paulie is almost the complete opposite. He is loud, proud of his history, and always looking for signs of disrespect. His hair, his tracksuits, and his walk all come from an older time. He grew up on the street, did long years in prison, and built his rank the hard way. He takes pride in having done time and in being feared. He is also very careful with money in a way that often looks cheap to others. Every tip, every gift, and every dollar taken off the top matters to him. At the same time, he is superstitious, full of strange fears, and very sensitive about his place in the group. He wants everyone to know that he paid his dues and that his name still means something in that world. When a man like Paulie looks at a man like Bobby, there is bound to be friction. From Paulie's point of view, Bobby is a late arrival who did not suffer through the hard years. Bobby came up under Junior and then moved closer to Tony through family ties, rather than through long years on the street. He wears hunting jackets instead of sharp suits, spends time with toy trains, and actually seems to enjoy quiet evenings at home. To an old soldier like Paulie, this can feel like an insult to the life he chose. It suggests that there might be room in this world for men who do not act as tough as he did, and that threatens his pride. From Bobby's side, Paulie is one of the loud older guys who never stop complaining and who never stop watching what everybody else is getting. Bobby sees him watching shares, counting envelopes, and talking about old fights. Bobby is not blind. He knows that men like Paulie will push and bully anybody they can. At the same time, Bobby is not eager for open war with anybody in the crew. He has a wife, stepchildren, and later kids of his own. He would rather swallow small insults than start something that could break the peace with the boss. Early on, most of their tension sits in the background. You can see Paulie making little jokes when Bobby is dressed as Santa at the Christmas party, or when other guys make fun of his size and the way he moves. Everybody laughs, but there is always a sharp edge when Paulie is the one talking. For him, mocking someone is a way of testing them. He wants to see how Bobby reacts and whether he takes it like a man or answers back. Bobby mostly chooses to smile and let it go. He knows he's not the fastest or the hardest man in the room, and he's not trying to be. Their real conflict comes into clear focus in the episode with the church festival, the one with the broken ride, and the falling saint. This is where their different values show in a very direct way. Paulie is in charge of the feast. It is a tradition that goes back to his father and to the neighborhood where they grew up. On the surface, it is a religious event, with a statue, prayers, and an image of community. Under that surface, it is also a business. Money comes in from vendors, games, and rides, and part of that money ends up in the pockets of Paulie and the crew. At this feast, Bobby is working the rides, and he takes it seriously. He brings his kids to enjoy themselves, he talks with the workers, and he wants everything to be safe. When the ride breaks and a young girl falls and gets hurt, Bobby is shaken. He was right there when it happened. He hears the screams and sees the chaos with his own eyes. For him, this is not only about the money they might lose. It is about guilt and responsibility. He feels that he should have made sure the ride was fixed, and he knows the family of the girl will have to live with the memory of that day. Paulie reacts in a completely different way. He is upset that the priest refused to give more comfort to his aunt earlier, and he already felt insulted by the church. Because of that, he had cut back on maintenance and on the payments he planned to give the church. When the accident happens, his first thoughts are about blame and about the money that could be lost. He is angry at the ride operators and at the world in general. Instead of focusing on the injured child, he focuses on how this will affect the take for the week and how it might reflect on him. Later, when they sit down to divide the profits, the clash becomes open. Bobby feels that the families who came to the feast deserve refunds and help, and that safety should have been more important. Paulie sees that idea as weakness. In his mind, accidents happen, and the main thing is that their own pockets do not suffer more than they already have. He cuts the numbers, gives Bobby and Patsy a smaller share, and speaks to them in a cold and threatening tone. It is a classic Paulie move. He uses fear and his senior status to shut down any argument. Bobby does not explode, but you can see the anger in his face and in the way he talks about Paulie at home. For a man like Bobby, who already struggles with the violent parts of his life, seeing a child hurt because of greed and carelessness is almost too much. He sees Paulie as the main person responsible, both for cutting maintenance and for refusing to show real regret. From that point on, whatever feelings of respect or mild affection he might have had are damaged. He still works with Paulie, but trust is weaker. For Paulie, that meeting confirms something he already believed. In his eyes, Bobby is soft. He worries too much about kids and refunds and not enough about the envelope. Paulie thinks Bobby should be happy to get anything after such a bad week. When Bobby shows discomfort, Paulie reads it as ungrateful behavior. Underneath his anger, there is also fear. Paulie is getting older and he sees that the boss is promoting people who did not grow up the same rough way he did. Bobby is married to the boss' sister and spends time at the lake house. That kind of closeness looks dangerous to someone who is already insecure about being replaced. Their relationship is also shaped by the changing power structure. As the story moves toward its last seasons, Bobby slowly rises. He becomes more trusted by the boss, handles important talks with other groups, and gets a bigger piece of the business. At one point, he even becomes next in line under the boss at the main table. For a man like Paulie, who spent decades as a soldier and then as a captain, watching Bobby move past him in terms of influence is painful. He might not say it openly to Bobby's face, but he complains to others. He hints that Bobby got what he got because of marriage and because he is willing to do what the boss asks without too much talk. From Bobby's side, this rise is not about beating Paulie. It is the result of years of showing up on time, staying loyal, and doing what is asked without creating headaches. The boss trusts him with family and with business. Bobby also proves he can handle violence when he finally does his first murder, even though it clearly bothers him. He takes that step for the good of his position and his family. While he might notice Paulie's sharp looks and cold tone, he does not waste much energy trying to win him over. He is more focused on doing his job and protecting his own home. There are still moments where a kind of rough respect appears between them. They sit at the same table during meetings, talk about small matters, and share laughs when the whole group is present. In this life, shared history matters. They have been through raids, funerals, and long nights together. Even if Paulie likes to mock and Bobby likes to keep quiet, they understand the same rules about loyalty to the boss and silence with the law. When Bobby is shot by Junior in the early part of the last season, Paulie is in the crowd at the hospital and around the family, showing concern in his own way. He knows that losing a man like Bobby would hurt the whole crew. At the same time, the distance never fully goes away. Paulie never seems to forget the festival dispute. He keeps a mental list of every time he felt disrespected or cheated, and Bobby is on that list. Bobby never forgets the starving look in Paulie's eyes when he cut their share after the ride accident. The image of that hurt child and the sound of the screams are tied forever in his mind to Paulie's cheapness. These memories color every later interaction, even if they never speak about it again. There is another important layer that explains why they never become true friends. Both men have strong father figures in their pasts, and those shadows still shape how they move. Bobby worships the memory of his father, who was also in the life but carried himself with quiet dignity. His father died while doing a job, and that death hangs over Bobby as a warning about the cost of this world. It makes him more careful, more gentle with his own kids, and more reluctant to dive headfirst into reckless plans. When Bobby looks at Paulie bragging about his time in prison and about old violent stories, he is likely thinking about his father's fate and about how easily a man can end up dead or locked away forever. Their different reactions to guilt also show why they rub each other the wrong way. Bobby is heavy with guilt after almost every violent event he takes part in. We can see in the way he carries himself after his first murder and in the way he looks at his children when he comes home from bloody work. He tries to drown that guilt with family dinners, toys, and harmless hobbies like his trains. Paulie feels guilt too, but he handles it by attacking others and by looking for signs from above. When something bad happens, he looks for secret reasons and omens. He visits psychics, worries about curses, and thinks about the voices of the past. In the festival episode, Bobby feels guilty for the hurt child and wants to make things right in the open world. Paulie feels guilty in a twisted way, but instead of making amends, he redirects that feeling into anger at the priest, at the ride owners, and even at Bobby for questioning him. You can also see their contrast in how they handle simple respect in daily life. Bobby almost never raises his voice in the back room, and he rarely interrupts anyone. He waits his turn, gives straight answers, and does not start gossip. When he treats someone badly, it is usually because he has been pushed into it by business or by the boss. Paulie lives in gossip. He wants to know every detail about who said what, who might be cheating, and who might be thinking about jumping ship. He spreads stories, tests people, and waits to see how much fear his presence still creates. For someone like Bobby, who values peace inside the group, this constant noise can be exhausting. For someone like Paulie, Bobby's quiet manner can seem sneaky, as if he's hiding opinions and waiting for the right time to replace the older man. The boss understands this tension and sometimes even uses it. He sends Bobby on jobs that need a calm touch and sends Paulie where fear and pressure are useful. By keeping both men close but never letting either of them feel fully secure, he makes sure they are always trying to prove their worth and that unspoken rivalry never fully sleeps. Even with all of this tension, it is important to remember that the show never gives us a single clear scene where Bobby and Paulie openly declare hatred for each other. Their feelings live in half jokes, and looks across the table, and in moments like the argument over the festival money. That kind of quiet conflict is common in their world. Men do not always say what they feel, partly out of pride and partly out of fear that the wrong word might start a war. So the dislike between Bobby and Paulie stays under the surface. It shapes who gets which job, who eats at which table, and who gets invited to which trip, but it never breaks into a clear and final fight. That makes their relationship feel even more real, because in groups like this, many grudges never reach the point of open war. They just sit and burn slowly in the background. Their story ends in a way that shows how this world treats both of them. Bobby is killed in a sudden burst of violence at the train store he loves. He dies surrounded by model trains and glass, the very symbols of the quiet life he wished he could live fully. Paulie lives on, but his life is not much of a reward. In the end, he is left almost alone, sitting in the back room with the boss, worried about prophecies and bad omens, and taking a promotion that he feels might be a curse. Whatever grudges he had with Bobby are now just more ghosts added to the many that already haunt him. So did Bobby and Paulie like each other? The answer is complicated. They shared a workplace, a set of rules, and a history of danger. On some level, there had to be a form of respect. Each knew the other would show up when called and would keep his mouth shut to the outside world. That is not small in a life built on secrets, but their deeper values pulled them apart. Bobby cared more about his home, about innocence, and about small human joys. Paulie cared more about respect, about old stories, and about getting every last dollar. These different values turned small moments, like jokes about weight or fights about a festival, into long-lasting wounds. In the end, their relationship is a picture of a larger change inside the crew. The old guard, represented by Paulie, believes that fear and greed are the only real tools that matter. The newer men who rise, like Bobby, show that loyalty and a calmer presence can also earn a place near the top. The tragedy is that in this world, both types of men are crushed sooner or later. Bobby dies trying to live a bit of a normal life, and Paulie survives only to sit alone with his thoughts and his suspicions. Their dislike never explodes into a clear war, but it quietly shapes the way they move around each other, and it shows how hard it is for men of such different hearts to truly be friends in a life built on crime.